Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this in-between episode of Project LS400. This episode being an update on my ECU repair. Let me show you what I have on the bench. These are the circuit boards of the ECU over there that I repaired for my friend's LS400. After the repair, we put the new capacitors in, the new electrolytic capacitors. We tested it and the car ran fine. It ran perfect as it should. But after a week, the car developed new problems. It had kind of the same problems it had before. So my friend ordered a new ECU, or at least a refurbished ECU from the States. Good company. They delivered the correct ECU. This one, it means it's the correct ECU for what he ordered. But this ECU has a different pinout, namely this is the 89 to 192 ECU, and we have a 93. My friend and I have a 93 LS400, which has a different pinout. So for now, that's unusable. We waited a long time for it, cost a lot of money. It was kept at customs for 6 weeks, and when he finally got it, he was fairly disappointed it didn't work. So what we did is I took the ECU out of my LS400 and gave it to him to test it, and his LS400 is running fine at the moment. For now it's been running without problems. And I am looking into the work I did, the repairs I did, and there's a few things I found. I'm gonna show you that first. So here are two of the capacitors I replaced, and those were leaking badly. You can see that there's damage done on the circuit board, and this is where one of the problems still existed. It's a double-sided circuit board with traces on both sides, and one trace from the lower side is connected to this side through this so-called via of this capacitor I replaced, and my soldering block didn't connect to this trace here, so there was an interruption in the trace. So I replaced all the electrolytic capacitors on this side of the board, and most of them were leaking. This is one of them. That one I did. My soldering joint over here wasn't too neat, so I redid that. And when I was looking around, I noticed a green corrosion here, and this lacquer, not sure if it shows on camera, but it's peeling off. So it seems that this surface mount capacitor is also leaking. So what I'm going to do is trying to find a replacement for this one. I think it's a capacitor because it's leaking, and it has the spill has the same color as from these electrolytic capacitors. So I'm going to look into that. I'm going to replace that, and I'm going to redo all my soldering work, and then I'm going to test this ECU in my own LS400. I can't drive it on the street at this moment, but so that's a repair I'm going to do for this. I'm going to show you my repairs if they turn out neat, otherwise I'll cut it out. So I don't know about you guys, but when I run into a problem, I'm always eager to find out what it is. So when I stopped last night, I started looking for what this could be, and soon it made sense that the number D, or the letter D, stands for diodes, and I found many more of those components. So I have a good reference, but I don't have any part number yet or anything about the values or capacities. I'm not that much into electronics, so forgive me if I'm jibber-jabbering. Anyway, I found out which component it is, and there was a lot of well, let's say corrosion on this area here. So what I did, I scraped off a bit of a top layer until I reached the copper part of those traces, and I checked for continuity because I feared it may have been damaged in this area here. So this trace leads to this capacitor, and the end of trace there leads to that capacitor. I have continuity from here to here, so that's good. So now we've got that figured out. I did another thing, and I checked all the vias on all the capacitors I replaced, and they were all good, so that's good. So I hope that the problems that remained in this circuit board were still due to this broken diode over here. So gonna figure out. I'm gonna show you in the next clip and in the next scene one of those diodes. This is one of the same diodes. On the other side there are a dozen of those, and I need to find one of these. I'm currently sitting behind my desk and my laptop trying to figure out what type of diode I need to order, and that ain't easy. I've tested the component that came off, the pass-through voltage, which is 0.5. That indicates it's a good working diode. It seems to be a normal diode. You have several types of diodes, Zener diodes, Schottky type diodes, and switching diodes, and what have you not. That matter is a bit too complicated for me, so I just take a gamble that it's a normal unidirectional diode. I've written down the dimensions and I logged on to the site of RS Components, and I punched in the specifications I have and trying to find a suitable diode, but there are so many parameters that come into play, so I decided to take the gamble and go for a cheap normal diode, which has a normal clamping voltage. You can see in this column here, clamping voltage go up to 45.7 volts, over 200 volts. And I'm looking for, look, you have to order these per 1800, so you get a real price is quite low, but you get an awful lot. And these ones anyway, just as affordable, 7 cents each on a reel of 20 or in a package of 20. So I think I go for one of these options and just solder it in and go from there. So the package from RS Components came in. I got 25 of these diodes, 25 of those, and here they are. Let me put a camera on its tripod. What I did is just try to find a normal diode with the same size as the original one that came off. You can see this has no legs anymore. They were corroded off by the leaking electrolytic compound that leaked from a capacitor. So this one has no legs or pads anymore. This one is what I'm thinking I'm going for. It's just a little shorter, and this is my second option. You can see it's a bit wider and it's a bit taller. Going with this one, going to test this one, see if it's a normal diode. If this does what that one does and I measure the same values, that's the one that's going in. So I tested the new components I ordered, and the SMAJ type one seems to be has the same values as this T2N. One thing you need to know is that these are directional components, and there's a white marking on every diode, and you can put it in two ways, but there's a small square on the marking, all the markings that are printed on the circuit board, and the marking on a diode has to align with the marking on the circuit board. Easy as that. It's better. That's one side. Didn't plan to do that, but what I didn't show is that I wear my homemade anti-static wristband to get rid of any static electricity. It would definitely harm the insides of the ECU. Now we're gonna have to put it back together, and let me see. You have these heat sinks over here that go on this side, or Zoo, which ones go where? And there we have it, ECU Repair for Dummies by an Idiot Part 2. Next thing we need to do is go to the car and see if it works. Well, it's been a few weeks since I've been at Project LS400, but here she is, and there's the ECU we just repaired. Now it's a moment of truth and see if this darn thing will work. If it works, I'll let the car run, let it warm up and see if it starts to sputter and do anything weird. And unfortunately I can't drive the car at this moment, but if my LS runs fine, I assume it'll work in my friend's LS. So then I'll take the ECU over to his car, install it, and go for a test drive and see how things go from there. And before I forget, always disconnect the battery before you start doing any work on any ECU. I don't want to plug it in and it gets a power surge of any kind that could do any harm. So always unhook the battery. And in case you were wondering where the ECU lives, it lives down there in the footwell, the passenger footwell below the glove box. And in order to take this apart, you need to unscrew this panel, the kick panel. And in order to unscrew that, you have to take out the interior of the glove box. And there are 3 hidden plugs here. They're well hidden in the flocked material. And maybe I'll show that in another episode. Anyway, there are 4 plugs. Here they are. I'm gonna plug it in. Do that off camera. It's plugged in. Got a key. Got a battery hooked up. So let's see what happens. Gonna dim the camera for now. Alright, contact. Oh yes. Now the car's been running for 5 minutes. It's idling down to its low idle. And it's coming up to temperature and I can hear nothing weird and see nothing out of the ordinary. So far so good concerning the ECU repair. Well folks, that's it for this episode. So far so good for the ECU repair part 2. We only know for sure that the ECU is repaired correctly once I put it in my friend's LS400 and go for a long test drive. I'm gonna do that this week, I hope, and I'll let you know, keep you updated on the progress on this repair. It was also nice to see my own Project LS400 up and running for the first time in a long time. So thanks for watching. If you liked following along, leave a like, give a comment, and please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out and it inspires me to make more of these episodes. So thanks for this time and hope to see you next time. Bye.